A recent study said that people who stay up late at night, night owls, might have a higher risk for heart disease than people who were early risers. According to the study, they were up to 16% higher risk for heart attack or stroke. Dr. Christopher Labos joins us. Hi, Chris. So, Chris, do we know why some people just always stay up late and others just prefer early mornings?
Well, some of it is genetic. I mean, there are people that have a genetic predisposition to being night owls versus being early morning risers, and sort of that is just sort of built into your DNA. And there's been a lot of studies that are looking into that. But for some people, their schedule is sort of set by the demands of their jobs. Some people have to stay up late because they work the night shift. Some people have to wake up early because that's when their job starts. So for a lot of people, it is society that has imposed this structure upon them. And it's often hard to figure out, are you doing this because you want to or because of genetics, or are you doing this because you're forced to get up at a particular hour? So there could be various reasons why people's sleep cycles are what they are.
So what can you tell us about the results of this study?
So this study, which was published, is actually a study based on the UK Biobank. So the UK Biobank is a large database of health information in the UK that has a lot of information about health outcomes. And so what the researchers did was they looked into this database, identified individuals, and got their self-reports of their sleep schedule. So people had to say whether they were early birds, whether they were night owls, or whether they were something in between. And then the researchers were able to look into this database and determine when they developed their first heart attacks, if any, and they were able to draw associations between the type of sleep patterns and their risk of cardiovascular disease. And what they found was, as you mentioned right at the top, there was a 16% increased risk of developing a heart attack if you were a night owl relative to the other groups.
But you question whether this is all about staying up late at night that causes the risk factors, or it's the lifestyles that go along with staying up late at night.
Yeah, exactly that. Because there were fundamental differences between the night owls and the people who would wake up early. And so when the researchers did what's called the mediation analysis, where you sort of tease out how much of the 16% is a direct effect versus an indirect effect from all of the other risk factors, it turns out that about 75% of the association between sleep pattern and heart disease is mediated not by the sleep pattern itself, but by all the risk factors that go along with it. So the fact that the night owls were overall less healthy was driving a lot of that cardiovascular risk, about 3/4 of it.
And another point, I guess, is that night owls, they tend to get less sleep, right?
Yes, that's the thing. So because of the way our society is structured, people go to bed at different hours, but our wake times tend to be more or less fixed because you have to get up and make it to work. So while there's a lot of variability between people's bedtimes, there's much less variability between people's wake times. Most people will get up sometime between 6 and 8 a.m. There's a rare breed of people that can probably sleep past 8 a.m. But because our wake times are fixed, the people who tend to go to bed late just end up sleeping less overall, which is in and of itself a risk factor for cardiovascular disease.
Now, this study mentions what it calls the 8 life essentials, all lifestyle factors for heart health. So genetics aside, is heart health essentially about lifestyle?
Essentially, yes. And I mean, obviously, you can't do anything about genetics and you can't do anything about, getting older, which is another major risk factor. I mean, I've chosen not to get older ever. But, as people keep aging, their cardiovascular risk goes up. So you can't do anything about those two. But a lot of cardiovascular risk is actually dictated by high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, what you eat, how much you exercise, whether you maintain a healthy body weight, if you do get enough sleep, and if you can quit smoking, all of which is actually very easy to manage. So while a lot of people might think that cardiovascular risk is outside of their hands, a fairly large chunk of it is manageable if you just follow those 8, healthy, essential lifestyle patterns.
And as for getting up early, Chris, I guess if you have dogs, we get up early, right?
Well, either that or you have to clean up the mess. So that's a good motivation to get up early.
No, I have 3 dogs. I get up early. Okay, thank you very much for this, Chris.